Hello again, and thank you for joining me for Third Act Stories. Today, I'll be taking a trip in the Wayback Machine to 1982, the summer of 1982 to be specific. And the reason I'm taking that trip is because I've had people ask me about the chess set. I'm using the chessboard as kind of my table to display all these crazy things that I've collected over the years. The chess set is a group of chess pieces collectively known as the English bird. If you're a fan of the things from the 80s, from 1982 especially, you'll recognize that these are the pieces that were used in the movie Blade Runner. Not these actual pieces, but they're a pretty accurate copy of those pieces. So in the summer of 1982, some buddies and I were sitting around with nothing to do, and we decided, let's go see this movie Blade Runner. We were in Texas, so it was a hot, steamy July, maybe June evening, foggy out. It looked foggy, but in Texas, when it's hot and it's a little rainy, everything's like steamy. So we went to go see this movie in a nice cold theater, which is always a good thing. We didn't have any expectations as to whether we'd like it or not. Harrison Ford was in it, and at the time, he'd been in Star Wars and stuff, so he was kind of a name actor. And we thought, well, this is a science fiction movie. It looks different. We've never heard of it, so we went to go see it. I don't know that any of us were really crazy about the movie. We didn't come out of it going, wow, that's the greatest movie of all time. I think a lot of us have come to believe that over the years. But at the time, it wasn't that much more amazing than all the other amazing stuff we were seeing. The one thing we came out of it with is we went, can you believe how short Harrison Ford's hair is? And nowadays that doesn't make sense, but back in the day, everyone had like Beatles length or longer hair in the 80s. If you're in your 60s, you'll know what I'm talking about. And someone who had a kind of a tight-cut haircut was almost a rebel. The guys that had the skinheads and stuff were the outliers back in the day. So Harrison Ford having a short haircut was like really crazy. Over the years, I got to where I really liked the film and saw the artistic film noir references in it. And just, there's a lot of different versions of it. None of them are any different, but there are different versions of it. But there wasn't anything that really I latched onto as an artist that was a piece that I said, wow, I need to have that in my house as a decoration. Until one day, I saw that a fellow by the name of Richard Ross, I believe is his name, had done a casting of these chess pieces. From everything I could tell, they were exact. They were exact to the film. And I've done a little bit of research over the years and looked at them, and I still have the same feeling. I don't know if he cast these from original pieces or if he just was an amazing sculptor. I really don't know much about him. But I do know that these are the closest pieces that exist on the market. And a lot of people will say, oh, you have to have wrens, which this has wrens, but you have to have wrens and kingfishers in your set for it to be an original set. Well, if you go back and look at the film, that doesn't flesh out very well because the film only has wrens in it. The ones that you can buy on Amazon are fairly close. They're a little clunky, and they all have kingfishers for the pawns. So anyway, I'm happy with this. When I saw that this guy was reproducing them, I'd actually only seen one of them sold. And I was having coffee with a buddy of mine one time who knows everyone. It's funny because I'll just sit and talk with him and he knows somehow or other, he's one of these people who can go up, and this is a good lesson for any of us. He can go up to somebody at a show or wherever and start talking to him. And the next thing you know, he's good friends with them and they remember who he is. He knows like the head of Weta and stuff, who, if you're a prop guy, you know who Weta is. Just because he walked up to him one day, made friends with him, and all of a sudden, he can ask him, hey, I love that prop. Can you send me that prop? And the head of Weta will send him a prop. His name is Tim, by the way. And he and his kids have a scene in one of our movies that we did.
Priority. Priority 1, muster call to all
Hold on, Sonny. Let the professionals do it.
Muster call to all Ranger personnel.
He also built the spaceship that's in that scene. He's like me. He enjoys doing some artistic pieces. He's kind of a graffiti artist, skateboarder, kind of guy. He's a little younger than me. But anyway, I was sitting having coffee with him one day, and I said to him, I really like those chess pieces in Blade Runner. And this Richard Ross guy produces them, but I can't find out where he is. And he said, I'll get you a set. I said, you know Richard Ross? He said, of course I know Richard Ross. So the next thing I know, this thing shows up at the house, and, I paid him something for it. It wasn't much. It was a reasonable amount. And, I've ever since been just really happy to have it. And this chess set has actually spawned a little bit of other collecting of the Blade Runner franchise, but I don't like spending a lot of money. I'm not one of these guys that'll go out and spend $2,000 on a prop. So I've got some prop displays to show you here that you might be interested in. This is the Blade Runner pistol. And as you can see, I've got it in a little shadow box and hang it on the wall. What's interesting about this pistol, though, is it's not a $2,000 pistol, which is what these props usually run. It's actually about a $35 squirt gun, which nowadays you can probably get them for $75. But at the time, they were like $35. And I'm going to move this stuff off of here because I've got too much stuff already on the table. But the squirt gun, is just a squirt gun. I mean, I did a little bit of painting on it, and I know guys who do a lot more detailing to it. But it's called the Toy Gun, Full Cock Toy Gun, Volume 1.5, from Real Form Water Gun Series, Elfin Knights Project, and then a bunch of Japanese writing. I have no idea what any of that means, except that I got the Blade Runner gun for $35. Okay. So the next one I got, I like I say, I liked Blade Runner. I originally I got to the point where I loved the original Blade Runner. The second Blade Runner with Ryan Gosling. I went to go see that movie, and I walked out of it halfway through. I didn't feel like it had, I don't normally walk out of movies, but it was a little more violent than I was expecting. I didn't like seeing, when I saw Rachel get whacked, spoiler alerts, I just went, I can't do this. This is gratuitous. I don't want to do it. I eventually came back and watched the movie again when someone had told me kind of what the point of the character development was in it. So I had a better idea of what the movie was about. And I enjoyed it after that. Also, I was over the shock of any kind of gratuitous violence. I'd seen it, and I didn't have a reaction to that. But anyway, I ended up getting and this is all loose, but I got the pistol from that movie. And this is actually a resin cast of that pistol. Very inexpensive. Wasn't something that cost me more than, again, $35. And I spray painted it. Didn't spend a lot of time with it. It has like a faux kind of carbon fiber thing on there. And here's what I used to make the carbon fiber. That shelf stuff. I just wrapped it around the gun, sprayed the black on top of it, and voila, carbon fiber. Again, I don't spend a lot of time with this stuff. I just do it cheap and kind of quick. And it's something that I hang on the wall, and it decorates my studio. Okay, so I know what you're saying. What's that little box? You're probably not saying that, but if you do say that, I'm going to give you an answer. This, and there's the little horse. You can get those all over the place for not that much money. So the little box is well, you can look at it. I'll give you a close-up of it. It's just like a Turkish or some sort of, Middle Eastern cigarette box. And it's from like the 1940s. You can still get them on eBay and stuff like that. And oh, look, it has a photo in it. What a surprise. You didn't expect that. But anyway, I was lucky enough to find one of these again. Probably spent $35 on it at the most. And, you know, what's this? Oh, I forgot about one of my other little Blade Runner props that I have sitting around here. The photos from the original movie. Anyway, they're a lot of fun. You know, just to have a stupid prop sitting around. That's the story with Blade Runner stuff. You know, everything that you end up accumulating over your 60-plus year run in the third act usually has good memories with it. I mean, things, if I had a bad memory with it, I'd chunk it. But the stuff that has good memories, I keep. And, you know, I decorate my house with them. I don't have them all over the, you know, again, the rest of my house I try to keep normal. But I've got some rooms where I put, you know, big collectibles in them. And it just reminds you of a life that you've enjoyed. You know, it reminds me of a movie I've seen that I enjoyed. And I'm a big movie buff. So that's why I've ended up with a lot of things related to colorful, artistic, science fiction, fantasy movies. And I'll go back and dig through more of those as we go through this. But anyway, I've got kind of a short week. I'm going to do some traveling to the East Coast. Actually, West Coast. I hope I don't go to the East Coast because then I'd be going the wrong direction. Going to the West Coast, doing some fun stuff, and then I'll come back and see you again in about a week or so. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful and safe rest of your day and rest of your week. And I look forward to seeing you again on, wait for it, Third Act Stories.